This is the AMC one-year reading for 2023. It's currently October 13th, 2023, 8:03 p.m. Eastern Time. So the overall theme and behavior, we have sideways fluidity, usually along a support. On this broad of a scale, it may not be like the same support the whole time that we're bouncing off of, but it's sideways fluidity, equal amounts of bulls and bears, inflow and outflow. So generally speaking, when you see this card as a theme card, the closing price of it, whatever the time frame is the card represents, the closing price is going to be very close, similar to that of the opening price. They end around the same because equal amounts of inflow and outflow. It's crossed with a failed attempt to break through key resistance on a one-year chart, followed by a decline through key support on a one-year chart. And that key resistance, it looks like we'll probably be in the midst of establishing, like it'll look like we're at the bottom of something. How do I explain it? It won't be the first time that we test it. It'll be like the second time that we test that resistance level, and it'll be in such like a technical formation that would make us think that we would break through and continue higher, but instead we turn around and we break down instead. Behavior around the high, there is a U-shaped dip. So there may be two peaks. We'll look closer into this, but there's a U-shaped dip forming between two perpendicular diagonal trend lines. And early in the year, there's a notable move to the upside that would stand out on a one-year chart. Behavior around the low, so there'll be quite a few. There'll be seemingly overwhelming headwinds, and even in the face of those, we'll still move higher out of the low, breaking through possibly multiple resistance levels. It looks like there will be a notable decline of the day of the low for the year. There will be a notable decline, or I should say like the 2-week period around that, there'll be a notable decline. Sneak preview, it looks like for AMC there's even bigger swings, price swings, bullish price swings in 2024. So it looks like this sideways fluidity, which is kind of like swings, usually it's not so much like a swing, it's more in a tight range, but on this broad of a scale it's probably going to be swings, and then that continues into 2024. So this is a good, if you were looking for a stock to trade that's going to go back and forth, AMC would be a pretty good one for 2023 to be trading. All right, so in January we have a rally in early January out of a like a minor trough. So when I say minor trough, I mean it'll stand out on a one-year chart, but it's not going to be like the low. You know what I mean? So out of a minor trough, there's a notable rally higher in early January to reach a crest or a peak for the year. We may have our first high here in early January, and then there's a move higher to reach the high of January, followed by a full retracement of that move back down. The moves would stand out on a one-year chart, and it'll be a full retracement. So the high would form in that regard, or the January high would form in that regard. And then in late January, there's a halting of a bullish trend marked by a sharp decline through a critical support level on a one-year chart. Behavior to reach the low of January will be a decline to a critical support level, and then we'll rotate sideways along that support level. There's also a significant trade opportunity in the low of January involving a move higher, successfully turning critical resistance on a one-year chart into, or let's say on a 1-month chart at least, into support. All right, so it looks like that decline creates a minor crest, if you will, in late January. So we go from a minor trough to a high, and then a minor crest, and then it looks like back to a high in February. We're back at a year's high here, breaking through horizontal resistance and then staying above it briefly before breaking back down through the same price level, and that's in early February most likely. It's in February, we should say. And you have to give this like 2 weeks wiggle room, guys, because it's so broad. So it could be like early February, late January, but there's another high there. And it looks like around the February high, there's some sideways fluidity, there's sideways rotation along a key support level, and there's a sharp dip within that period of sideways rotation around the high that will stand out on at least a 1 month chart, probably a 1 year chart. We have a critical price level or critical resistance level that's highlighted in late February, and that's something that should be notated. That price level should be notated because it'll be significant later on. It looks like the low of February is also within close proximity to the year's high, to that second year's high there in early February. And then I'm advised to open up some protection around that price level in late February. I'm advised to open up some protection. There's a fake out around the high, some sideways fluidity around the March high, I should say, and an intentional fake out or shake out there intended to make the retail investor do something impulsive. Looks like there's a month's high for March around like the third week of the month, and then in late March we have the completion of a bullish trend. To reach the low for March, looks like we have sideways fluidity along a support level at the low as well, but there's a resistance level that's met in early March, and then volatility that increases with momentum as we move into the low. It looks like we probably fall pretty hard into the low, like let's say the second week, maybe the second week or probably the second week of March, and then sorry, let me back up. So what we have is we reach a resistance level in March. There's volatility that increases with volatility as we move forward. There is a fake out near the high, and then the completion of a bullish trend late in the month. And from that bullish trend, we fall pretty sharply. Like it'll be like probably a market-wide decline here until we reach a critical support level where we rotate sideways with equal amounts of bulls and bears. There's a trade opportunity there around a low that forms either at the end, after that decline at the end of March, or in early April. It's a cash out opportunity for like a short position possibly. The high for April, there's a swing trade opportunity there as well, involving a move higher, successfully turning resistance on at least a 1 month chart into new support. And then a swing trade opportunity, it could be the same trade opportunity in early April, or it could be a separate one, depends on where the high ends up being. But in early April, there's another swing trade opportunity involving a move higher, successfully turning resistance on a 1 month chart into new support. It may be on a 1 year chart, but at least on a 1 month chart. And there's sideways fluctuations with a bearish trend that precedes a rally in early April. A notable decline, bearish price swings, and a sharp drop that would stand out on a 1 year chart off of the high and reaching the low for the high of April and the low of April. So out of the high of April and into the low of April. And it looks like that low is likely right around like the second week of April, and we're talking about an April low. It may also be it's probably a significant trough or low for the year as well. There's some sort of unrest, like within the executives. There's some sort of unrest going on here in early April, having to do with executives, and there's some selling from a near overbought crest. In May, we have another year's high, or very prominent crest that would stand out, but there's a rally in early May. So a fast sudden move higher in late April, and that rally continues into early May. And in early May, we meet another year's high. There's an opportunity to position oneself to protect against a downturn. We have volatility near the high. It looks like the high is probably the first or the second week of May. And then there's volatility around the high with a fast sudden move higher marking the end of that volatility. And then to reach the low, there's the breakdown of a bullish trend along a diagonal trend line with marked by a fast sudden move higher, and then a breakdown through that diagonal trend line into the low. And we're talking about the March low, not the year low, but the March low. It looks like that's probably in the second week of the month. And then a rally ensues from that low. There's a trade opportunity at the May low. And it involves a decline to and through a support level. To reach another support level, we bounce along that back and forth for a bit, and then we break down through multiple support levels. And then there's a trade opportunity in the midst of that behavior. And then we're in late May, we're bumping along resistance. We may break through resistance, bump along resistance some more, break through resistance, bump along resistance some more. But there's a breakdown of the bullish trend first, and then back into bumping along resistance. In early June, we have a trade opportunity involving a decline to and through a support level, bouncing along support, and then breaking down through multiple supports. And it looks like there's a failed attempt to break through a critical resistance level that we expect to break through. So maybe we revisit a high here, a year's high possibly, but there's a sharp drop off of it. A failed attempt to break through key resistance and a decline through critical support, and that's on a 1-year chart. So sharp drop there, and a trade opportunity in the midst of that drop. A trade opportunity around the high of June as well, sideways rotation along a support level. Really sort of horizontal price action, and there's a swing trade opportunity around the high involving a move higher, successfully turning resistance on a 1-month chart at least into new support. We revisit past problems, and there's a decline through a critical support level that we recently broke down through once before to reach the June month's low. And then in late June, there's three pokes through the same price level, followed by a sharp decline after that third poke. Decline continues. It looks like there's quite a lot of price movement off of the high in June. Quite a lot of price movement off of the high in June to the downside, and it continues into July. Continues into July. It looks like there's probably a minor trough in July. Oh, excuse me. There's also a possibility of a high here, a year's high in July. So a decline continues in early July. And then in the midst of that decline from a high, how does that work? I think the high's probably not in July. The high is probably in early August, based on what I'm seeing here. So there's a decline from those three pokes in June, and that decline that ensues. A lot of price movement to the downside. It continues through multiple support levels on a year chart in early July. And in the midst of that decline, there's an opportunity. There's a failed attempt to break through key resistance on a 1-year chart, followed by a decline through key support on a 1-year chart. In the midst of that decline, there's a trade opportunity to open up a long position. It looks like a rally out of the low increases with momentum moving forward into the end of the month of July, and a pretty big move in late July that would stand out on a 1-year chart. Rally continues in early August along a diagonal trend line, breaking through horizontal resistance, meeting secondary resistance, and then pulling back to somewhere between those two price levels. When we hit that secondary resistance, that's an opportunity to open up some protection once again. They're selling from near overbought crest around the high of August, and they're selling from a overbought crest to reach the low of August. There may be a low here. It's hard to determine, but there may be a low here. Where this is placed is kind of throwing me off a little bit. But there may be a low, and if there's a low, there's a lot of price movement there. My sense is probably out of the low that we see in early July, the rally continues pretty strongly, and a lot of price movement is covered, or price ground is covered, moving into that near overbought crest or overbought crest that we sell from the high, the month's high in August, down to the month's low in August. And then there's the beginning of a rally in late August. In early September, we have a sideways rotation along a key support level on a 1-year chart. It ends with a fast sudden move to the upside. 3 crisscrosses through the same critical price level, confirming a bullish trend near the high of the month's high of September. and it looks like we may have another high, month's high here near September. Probably the month's low for September is within close proximity to a year's high, as well as the month's low in July is within close proximity to a year's high. A significant price level, or a critical technical price level, is highlighted in late July at a resistance level where volume and volatility kind of they kind of flatten out. Or sorry, in late September. Late September. There's a critical price level that's highlighted, and I'm advised to follow my intuition towards the end of September. We have the year's lows that all the correlations for the year's low transpire in October. We have a big move to the upside out of in early October, and that's generally speaking, it's from oversold territory or a short squeeze or to fill a previous gap down. But there's a big move there. However, there's around the month's high for October, there's a lot of volatility and an opportunity to position oneself in both directions utilizing option strategies. Looks like that high's probably towards that month's high is towards the end of the month, and the year's low is also towards the end of the month of October. Interesting. But the month's high is within close time proximity to the month's low, or the year's low. And quite a bit of volatility in the end of the month, providing opportunity to position oneself in both directions. A critical price level, a critical resistance level highlighted. And then it looks like a failed attempt to break through key resistance on a one-year chart, followed by decline through key support on a one-year chart, is the behavior around near the November high, the November's month high. A decline, looks like there's a reversal at we're bound by a range in early November, and there's a reversal at that range around the high, a decline that increases with momentum moving forward into the month. And as we enter the end of the month, that decline really continues pretty strongly. There's a trade opportunity there as well, involving a decline to and through a support level and meet another support level. We bounce around sideways for a bit, and then we break down through multiple support levels. Advised to be very cautious near the low, the month's low of November. There's some sort of fake out or maybe multiple false lows there. And in the midst of that steep decline that increases with momentum into the end of the month of November, there is a rally that commences and a strong move to the upside that commences out of that decline. Looks like it continues in early December, moving higher. And we have a December high, possibly another major crest for the year here, but a December high towards the beginning of December. An important or a not so common leader is highlighted here, maybe an executive that's not so often thought of, or maybe Congress that's highlighted around the high of December. But there's a swing trade opportunity there involving a move higher successfully turning resistance on a one-year chart into, or at least a 1 month chart, into new support on a 1 month chart. So big move out of that decline in late November, big move out of that higher into early December, and then we have quite a bit of volatility in late December, with a sharp dip that stands out on a one-year chart in the midst of that volatility, and a notable reversal on a one-year chart. It would stand out around the month's low for December. And again, the sneak preview for the following year, 2024, is going to be bullish price swings. Overall, guys, this is a pretty good trading stock for the year of 2023. Let me know what you think by hitting that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, my friends. Most importantly, support the channel, my friends. There's a rule of karma. We're throwing all of this information. It's worth billions of dollars. We could sell this for billions of dollars, and we're giving it away free. 903 predictions in the last year were posted. So support the channel with that rule of karma. Much appreciated. Send a little bit of that forward, a little bit of that back to the channel, and make sure you spend the rest of that, all of that actually, out of love. As long as you spend it out of love, the universe is going to send it back to you tenfold in all directions, my friends. Blessings. I'll see you on the next one.